Happy Socialist Sunday, people. Welcome to the Sunday Livestream on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. How you all doing this week? Thanks for joining me on the stream. Lots going on, lots to catch up with this evening. Specs Bean Farmer, good to see you. Idiosyncrasy, Graham Turner. Mo as well, very good evening to you. JK also. As an environmentalist, I might be interested in an interview on Glenn Deason's channel, Henry Tillman, China's thorium revolution, 60,000 years of cheap energy. I do know that China are making leaps and bounds in renewables. I might check that out. Just going to refresh the live chat. It seems a bit stuck there. Okay, I think the chat should be refreshed and up to speed now. Looks like it is. Do make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you're joining us. Helps to get us around. Yeah, there's a lot going on today. I'll be getting on to what's coming up on the stream when we get into Keith's Fondue Lounge shortly. Staying with the Fondue Lounge instead of the charcuterie kitchen for now, of course, due to copyright restrictions on the background music. But both scenes, both great scenes, as well as the opening test card sequence with Yvette Cooper, come from the great Agitator. So do go and check out the Agitator. So yeah, thanks for that recommendation, JK. Check that out. I'll put it on my watch list. Do my best to keep up with recommendations. Just check I've got all my notes and stuff here. Good to go. Oh yes, I wrote a little reminder down at the end of the last stream for Floor Snake, but Floor Snake's not in the chat just yet, unless you are watching but not chatty. They asked about a video I use, so I'll try and remind myself if I see them in the chat. But how is everybody else doing this Socialist Sunday? Quite the week it's been. Thank you to the backing band. That's Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics, providing us with some soothing jazz as always. Thanks, fellas. You know, let's hear that one again. It's just so good. Thanks. Yep, completely live, I assure you. Completely real. Doc Davies just joined us in the chat as well. And speak of the devil, Flow Snake, I was just mentioning a moment ago, you asked right at the end of the last live stream, one of the recent live streams I think it was, about the flag removal clip. I don't know if you got the reply there. But yeah, just get in touch with us on social media. Send us a message on, well, Twitter preferably, because I've not done the age verification thing on Blue Sky. Or by email, which would be myleftiuk@gmail.com. And yeah, I'll send you a copy of that clip, the flag removal one, if you're still after it. Great to see you. Very good evening to you too, Doc. Networking live on stream, people. Thanks for the flags and watermelons, I should say also. In solidarity with Palestine, as always. I will catch up with the latest in Gaza during the stream. And with there being so much to get into, you might have noticed I'm on a bit earlier than I have been recently. The Sunday Livestream doesn't have a set time, as opposed to the Brews at 10, for obvious reasons. So yeah, just so I can possibly pack more stuff in and talk about it in a bit more detail without rushing as we get towards the end. So go through the main topics in a moment with Keith and Co. Of course, he's been in it this week. Should say as well, quick plug, do check out some of our recent content. Some of that does include Keith. Which would be not the most recent video, the one before, about all this Tel Aviv, Maccabi, however you want to say it, tomato, Tel Aviv fans rightly being told to fuck off, or stay the fuck away at least, pardon the French, but I do feel particularly strongly about this, as well as the political rhetoric and whatnot. And there have been a few revelations about that, just how obvious this is the work of the lobbies and other actors, shall we say. Starmer's reaction alone being unbelievably telling. Other commentators have been coming out of the woodwork. You know the usual suspects. Okay, people, in we go to the Fondue Lounge. Just take a deep breath of fresh air if you can before we go in. It does often get a bit musty in there. It hums a little. I'll see why in just a moment. Yes, here we are once again for YouTube's favourite earworm. Margaret Hodge, Starmer and others being the culprits as to why it really hums in here. We won't linger long. We won't linger as long as perhaps one of their, shall we say, rectal outputs. feel really sorry for the dog. Obviously, they have a much stronger sense of smell than we humans. I understand they can, some breeds identify one part in a quadrillionth. I don't know why I stuttered there. A quadrillionth. Poor dog. I think the couple at the back are okay. And that might be Lisa Nandy right at the back on that other sofa, but she can do one also. So yes, just draw your attention towards the right hand side of the screen. Obviously Keith in the news. This knee-jerk reaction to the Tel Aviv Fan Ban will be going into that. Also Mandy there again, and it's the same sordid circles. It's always the same faces, isn't it? It's always the same bloody faces. Same culprits every time. Tisk tisk. So where it comes to Mandy, Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, what name on the Venn diagram encroaches all of those circles? It is, of course, Jeffrey Epstein. So, more about that concerning Prince Andrew. Also, he's relinquished his title as the Duke of York. Talk a little bit about that. So yes, the former Duke of York, as he is now. Villa's your team, is it, Doc Davis? Well, Davies, apologies. How do you feel about this? I'd love to know your thoughts. I'd like to think they're not too far away from my own, and to watch your own club being embroiled in this, yeah, must be pretty painful. I'd especially like to know your thoughts on, as I said, something that's been revealed about the propaganda and the way that the lobbies have been all over this, especially. So please do stick around, Doc. Yeah, that's going to be quite early on in the stream as well, so love to know your thoughts, and everybody else's as well. What else is coming up though? We do have, as I said, I've been sorting through information and stuff, trying to pick out the best bits to show you regarding some ongoing cases and My Left Private Eye. So we'll get the latest on that. We're really going to get our teeth into perhaps a really couple of groundbreaking pieces of evidence in the Charlie Kirk case, and also a new case opening up this week as well, but all will be revealed later. Something that happened very recently. I'm trying to create suspense and drama, so you'll no doubt stick around for that in case you hadn't noticed. Zach Polanski had his BBC interview today with Victoria Derbyshire on the Laura Kussenberg show, so it wasn't with Kussenberg, with Derbyshire. Have a little bit of a look at that, not the full interview, but I do have a clip and a couple of other things to get into. Another very interesting poll has come out as well, just today actually, I believe, that I will be delighted to share with you. It's good news, fortunately. And the latest on Gaza as well, as I said. Doc, you think it was the right decision to ban the fans? I thought as much. Of course, I stand by you. With those sentiments, absolutely was the right decision. isn't without precedent. It's just because, as we all know, that this particular team comes from Israel. They, for some reason, get special treatment, and I say for some reason, with tongue-in-cheek. If you want to check out anybody who hasn't seen it, the video that came out this week about that, how Starmer is openly defending Israeli fascists instead of supporting British anti-fascists, and how dare he, when in just over a fortnight's time he's going to be on our screens with a poppy giving his Remembrance Day address. But there are many of us who haven't forgotten the message left from those in the past regarding the fight against fascism. So do check that out. Alright people, just a quick sec. Got a YouTube studio notification here. Hope everything's coming through smooth enough. Hope we don't have a buffering situation going on. Can you hear me, people? Can you hear me? Let me know. I can see you, I can... Oh, yeah, I know Phil, I can't breathe either, but... I know it's a catchy tune, but do we really have to put ourselves through this every week? It fucking stinks in here. Ah. Mobius, thanks a lot for that gifted membership. Sorry about the delay there. Hodge, you cow. Okay, we better get out of here, people. Damaging the equipment with a friggin' air biscuits. They're hot as hell. Brett James, thanks for joining us. Let's vacate Fondue Lounge. Whew. Breathe the free air, people. Goodness me. It gets worse every week. I don't know what they put in that cheese stuff. This retro shit's got to go. Brett James, nice to see you in the chat. Solidarity this Socialist Sunday. Thanks for the feedback there, Mo, on the audio as well. You never know, sometimes you get these warnings from YouTube Studio about the stream quality coming from your broadcast software, which is separate, by the way. I'm getting a bit nerdy and technical here, but you never know when it's cut out or not, so do appreciate your feedback. Okay, yeah, so all of the aforementioned coming up, plus more. And you never know when we might get sidetracked or lost in a tangent. So we'll kick off with a comedy clip. And then into a few stories. This is from someone I've not had on for a while, actually. But he's a top content provider. This is Michael Spicer. You'll recognise him, no doubt, from the Room Next Door sketches that he used to do as well. But this latest one's all about artificial intelligence. Do suggest you go and subscribe on YouTube to Michael Spicer. Great stuff.
The latest news from the world of AI. Good evening. Our top story tonight.
Wasn't getting any. Just going to re-upload that very quickly. There wasn't any audio coming through. It's all happening tonight, people.
The latest news from the world of...
Oh, fuck's sake. Okay, bear with. It's like they take it in turns between the studio and the broadcast software.
The latest news from the world of AI. Good evening. Our top story tonight. New research shows AI is now being used by reply guys 89% of the time. According to new data from the Institute of AI Research, sophisticated AI chatbots are being used more and more by those insufferable pricks who disagree with everything you post online and feel you need to know about it. I'm joined now by the chair of the Institute, Robert Manville.
Hello.
Mr. Manville, what does this new data tell us? Well, it proves that reply guys are using advances in technology to continue their pastime of giving you their opinion when you didn't ask for it, sending you links to support their argument, which you will never click on, correcting your grammar, and sending you horrible blurry GIFs as though it's still somehow 2017. And are these AI replies up to the task? Well, the data shows that these chatbots are remarkably accurate when it comes to simulating the style of these boring, pedantic, humorless arseholes. For instance, one of our researchers posted on Instagram that they were enjoying a new thriller on BBC One, and within 30 seconds a chatbot replied, "You are wrong. The premise is weak and the plot is cliched. Try the new thriller on Netflix with Saran Jones. Me and my girlfriend have been hooked since episode 1. Ah, that's a nice reference from the chatbot about having a girlfriend, because as we know, reply guys are either undateable or divorced. That's right, and they'll often mention a fictional girlfriend to imply that they have some kind of meaningful life and aren't just constantly scrolling social media looking for people to disagree with because their total lack of humility, likability and a talent for anything meant their souls left them years ago. Interesting development. Mr. Manville, thank you for joining us. Pleasure. Coming up next, AI has made my life so much easier, says man who can't do basic fucking things like write a shopping list.
Very good, Michael Spicer. Go and check him out. AI News. Is he going to do some more of those? Who knows? Okay. Moving on. We will when the what's the music on? There we go. When the studio catches up. I think we're back now. Is the email address case sensitive? No, it isn't. All lowercase. mylefteyuk@gmail. If you're not on any other socials, that's all cool. But we'll get the clip to you, don't worry about it, Flow Snake. That's not an original, by the way. I don't know who the original uploader was for that. For some reason, I think it might have been in Bournemouth. So yeah, that's myleftiuk@gmail.com. Right, where to next? We'll go over No King's Day. Something to cheer about, at least. Yeah, what a turnout. I put a few clips in the most recent video on the channel. I think I've got a couple of those lined up as well, but first of all, check out this incredible drone footage. These magnificent overhead shots from Chicago. How's about that? So this is Brendan Gutenschwager at BG on the scene. With these great aerial shots. Thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of people in every city. Millions, going into the millions. The total in the country's got to be in the tens of millions at least, has it not? That's a great chunk of the population of the domestic United States of America. Just look at that there. It's like 2 Glastonburys back to back. And you can barely see a blade of grass there. It's a lot different from the scenes at Trump's inauguration party, you know, and when he paid $61 million once, wasn't it, for his own birthday bash that barely anybody showed up for, and now this day that's dedicated to protest against him gets tens of millions of people out onto the streets of America. There was a protest here outside the embassy in London as well. British and Americans together protesting against Trump. He has, of course, had a completely juvenile reaction to this, which I'll show you after we just absorb some of these clips. This is really great stuff from BG on the scene. Brendan Gutenschwager, as I said, for any media photography fans. Yes, Doc, I have seen that. That was what I was hinting at, what I was just referring to there with his juvenile reaction. It beggars... Well, no, it's just typical in the beyond parody sense. We'll have a look at that in a moment anyway. Just it's pathetic. Yeah, it's AI, of course. Yeah, it can't actually fly a jet. No spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it anyway. But isn't this great? Move on to these scenes from New York now, and you can hear the crowd from where it's being shot from, and that's some hundreds of feet in the air. And look at that again. They're like sardines, people. I don't mean the people have morphed into some sort of hybrid sardine humanoid freak. I'm talking about just how rampacked it is. That was New York. This is Los Angeles. It will be. It's the it's the studio there, bit of buffering. Okay, now we'll have the Los Angeles footage. Sorry about that brief delay. No audio on this one. Similar scenes again, Los Angeles, California. Again, very similar to New York, New York. So good they named it twice. It's almost like one, but in a positive sense, in terms of how many people on the streets when you do see a disaster movie and people are mass migrating out of a city that's, I don't know, been attacked by aliens or whatever it is. But look at this, there must, you know, and I'll bet as well the crime stats just absolutely hit the floor as well. That tends to correlate. Well, there's causation, you have to say, not just correlation, because they are, of course, not the same. But look at the numbers, look at the people there. This one's San Diego, sorry. Credit to Marco Foster for these shots. They're saying these are the biggest ever protests in America, and it's easy to see why with this sort of thing. If you imagine the size of the biggest Palestine protest in London and put that into 50 states. Not sure about Hawaii, but certainly every continental state, including Alaska, had demonstrations. I'd probably say maybe, top of my head, 25-30 million total. If you think I might be exaggerating, over embellishing, let me know there, but I think that would be a fairly solid, even conservative figure. A brief clip here as well. One news reporter stunned to see the size of the crowds in Boston, Massachusetts.
Look at this. Millions of people across the country marching as we speak against the policies of President Trump. This is Boston. Look at that. We'll continue to follow these rallies.
Again, similar scenes in Boston. Wow. Just look at it, wow, again. Like 2-3 festivals back to back. So now, this reaction video, prepare yourselves. We've given a few hints already about what it might be like. This is Donald Trump's reaction to all of this. Now, you have to remind yourself this is coming from an official head of state, not just any head of state, the President of the United States of America. And when you talk about thin-skinned, this is grade A Premier League thin-skinnery from the pumpkin spice Palpatine. Words almost can't describe how bad it is, so I'll just play it and then we'll come back and get some post-analysis after. But whichever AI bots or whatever it was, AI team, put this together, shame on you, because you really have scraped a new low in the barrel of humanity. Get a look at this, people. Yeah, so he's off on his his jet there, and he yeah, he dumps some fecal matter there. There isn't any audio on the vid. Well, there might have been, but not on the copy that I got anyway, for what it's worth. But just again, he's got the King Trump plane, which he can fly, of course, because he's, as has been pointed out in the chat, not a draft dodger. So yeah, he can fly a jet, and there he is with his crown. And this is on his official account on Truth Social. You can see there at Real Donald Trump. It's real. It's real. This is his own post. So he's got the crown there. And remember, this is the United States of America, of course, who renounced imperial rule in the 1700s. Sorry, it's just so bad. So and the payload, as it were, is released. And this is how he takes it. It looks not very realistic looking shite. You'd think he'd be somewhat of an expert in that. Maybe he just moved a bit too awkwardly in his seats and split open one of his colostomy bags. This could have been an incredible accident for all we know. Yeah, so that's how he rolls, the same way as a petulant 7-year-old. Well, everybody hates me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make an AI video of myself getting in the King Trump jet with my fucking crown on and take a shit on the citizens of America. Well, he's already doing that figuratively anyway with his policies. Could you imagine any other country doing this? And he thinks that, yeah, high five. This is the President of the United States of America that we're talking about. Destroying the Constitution. As you say there, Graham, in the chat, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Like I said in the latest video about No King's Day, I really wouldn't be surprised if through some chicanery, some sordid means, he tries to get an unconstitutional third term. Apologies, did put that video together fairly quickly. You might have noticed one or two slight errors in it. I did trim one of them out again pretty quickly, but it's been since Franklin D. Roosevelt, since no one's served a fourth term, of course, FDR dying in office during World War II, but I mistakenly said Teddy Roosevelt in the original upload of the video. That's been edited out. There was something else as well. Oh, I think I said in the narration that Ghislaine Maxwell was married to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were just partners or lovers or whatever. They weren't actually married. So apologies. And speaking of him, that brings us back to Trump and release the Trumpstein files, as you're correctly saying there in the chat as well. Rhubarb WD. Thanks for joining us as well, by the way. Please make sure that you all hit thumbs up as you join us. I can see there are 6 concurrent viewers that haven't currently hit the thumbs up. Just the once, don't undo an original thumbing up. But this repulsive video thumbs up nicely just how childish, undignified Donald Trump is, any other leader. And this was a thing that happened. This is a thing that happened. It's Well, what do you think, people? Do you think this is as bad, if not worse, than that Gaza Riviera video that he did, the TikTok one? Can it get any worse? This is at least an equal low, if not a new frontier. One asshole. Someone who certainly isn't an arsehole, quite the opposite. Thanks for that awesome super chat there, Graham Turner. Solidarity with Palestine. That certainly deserves a thumbs up. And a big up in the chat, please, everyone, for Graham Turner. Solidarity this Socialist Sunday, brother. Thanks for your long-term support on the channel as well. Always nice to see you in the chat. It's one of those I can't believe it things, isn't it? Just look who we're talking about here. Skin's so thin you don't measure it in microns. I guess you'd measure it in... it's on a quantum level, I guess, at this point. I shouldn't say things like that, because that might make him... I'm the quantum president. Is he here? Is he there? Which direction is he travelling in? Who the fuck knows? He's the quantum president. But I don't care what his superposition is, he can fuck off as far as I'm concerned. Can Donald Trump. Oh, Graham, your wife disagrees about those sentiments, does she? Oh, get her in the chat on the stream sometime, perhaps. I don't know if she's into this sort of thing, but yeah, just to confirm, I don't believe it. You seem like a sound guy to me. Picometers, yeah, these are the sort of metrics that we're talking about with the lack of thickness. Where the president's dermatological matter is concerned. So I was going through some channel stats the other day about audience and geographies and this kind of thing, and I was pleasantly surprised to see at the moment about 10% of the viewers of the channel, including live streams, come from the States, so there's a good chance that somebody watching was at one of these events. Obviously this being a channel for socialists, by socialists, and political and environmental activists. So yeah, out of the nearing 5,300 subscribers that I'm proud to say that we have at the moment, 10% of those, let's call that around 500, a good chance that someone out there was at one. Let us know how it felt, as well as what you think about Donald Trump's reaction. I think we should just all let it wash off as like water off a duck's back, really. He'd love a reaction to that, so don't feed the troll. There were some small MAGA counter-protests, from what I understand, quite pathetic. I'm sure that some of the people on the marches maybe even voted for him themselves, and they're completely disillusioned, disenchanted with his presidency. Well, I guess it's never too late to see straight. Of course, they do quite rightly feel guilty for voting him in the first place. Come on, people. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they weren't warned enough the first time around. And just finally, whilst we're on that topic, need to move on because there's still a lot to get through on the stream. But that sort of brings us back around to the January 6th insurrection. The first time he was voted out, fair and square, couldn't take it, tried to disrupt the proceedings to officially hand over the government, of course. Now, if he did that, then can you imagine the scenes? Because while some MAGA heads have still woken up, there are a lot of, unfortunately, die-hard Trump fans out there, just impervious, I should say, to facts. And as the clock runs down and his presidency comes to a natural conclusion, what's going to happen next time? How's he going to... He's going to do it. I'll be the least surprised person if by hook or crook he doesn't try to stay on for a third term. Now, how... when you look at history, has clinging to power been accomplished, has been achieved? Well, it's even happened within living memory a couple of times, on at least 2 occasions here in the United Kingdom. I should say Britain, really, because I recognise a unified Ireland. Anyway, so yeah, Thatcher did it with the Falkland Wars, of course. Tony Blair did it with the Iraq invasion. So that's all, you know, only a couple or so generations ago. And I think that's how Trump's going to try and swing it. He's going to try and drag America into some sort of war and then say, oh no, you'd be absolutely ridiculous to change leaders during wartime. And people will say, well, you know, since FDR served 4 terms, nobody's been allowed to serve more than 2. And then they'll say, oh well, FDR was a wartime president, wasn't he? And they might try and do it that way. Hedy, thanks a lot for the super chat as well. Yes, of course. You're doing it again. Okay. Right, so I have to read out the super chat. Sort of, well... there's a bit of a sort of legal problem with that. But yeah, support and action. The closing meme to tonight's live, spoiler alert, might entertain you as well, Hedy. Thanks again though for that super chat. Let's give that some support and give Hedy a shout out. Everybody, big up, big up. Good afternoon, good evening, Rachel Atwood, nice to see you. And the good globalist joining us also. Doc Davies enjoying a spot of cake there. No, Rachel, it's not plasticine action this time. I did see a few plasticine action t-shirts last time when we were down at one of the DOJ protests. Next item, I think that's enough on Trump for now. I've not checked since I came on the stream if any, you know, new batshit crazy stuff's come out in the news. But like I said on that recent video, if you made one about all of the corruption that he's been embroiled with, you wouldn't be able to edit it quick enough to be able to keep up. I found that out myself with the Trump and Musk batshit crazy corner stuff. I could have done 3 videos a day. Right, let's get on to this Zach Polanski appearance on... it was the Laura Kussenberg show, but with Victoria Derbyshire. Kussenberg's ducked out. Apparently she didn't fancy going toe-to-toe with Zach Polanski. Now, that's quite strange, isn't it? This is, air quotes, use the term very loosely where Laura Kussenberg's concerned, but a journalist, she's, of course, political editor on the BBC. God knows why. She can't even get basic areas of the political spectrum right, and obviously she's an out-and-out Tory herself. But she tries to blag that she's interviewed every party leader and every, Prime Minister recently, and these are the interviews that she bags because she's so good. And the only one that dodged her was Johnson, I think, because he dodge Kussenberg as well as Andrew Marr when he, pre-GBB's Andrew Marr, when he was still on the Daily Politics show. But apart from him... But why doesn't she want to interview Zach? I'm calling chicken. She knows that he can fight his corner. She's used to just giving softball questions to the Tories or Starmer or whoever it is. She doesn't follow up on what might be a slightly on point, on the nose, pertinent question. It just moves on to something else. She's all about herself, Kussenberg, of course, you can tell. I have an immediate distrust for any so-called journalist who has a show named after themselves and a opening title sequence with, the one on Kussenberg, where she's walking around the AI sets with the confident stride, and it's Kussenberg, or whatever. It's like, fuck off. That does really get to me. So yeah. Was she off with flu? Maybe a touch of COVID? By the way, Zach Polanski does endorse this channel, as you can see, as he did recently. Liked one of our videos about himself destroying that right-wing panel on Question Time. That was last week, wasn't it? Nice to get that little nod from Zach. Just thought I'd remind you about that. So, we're not going to go through the full interview. Although, this clip's, 2-3 minutes? That's a good section of the interview. I should point out before we get into this. So, say for example, I think this was highlighted on something I saw on Twitter. Nigel Farage got 15 minutes when he was on there. Zia Youssef, 8 minutes. And Zach Polanski's total time was something like 7 minutes or something, the entire interview. And then Derbyshire went over to the panel. To be honest, one of the guys on the panel was pretty good. But yeah, while they did have Polanski on, while he is actually capable of answering questions properly and saying why socialist policies are not only what people want at the moment, but also why it's best for our country, why he's rejecting the politics of hate for something that's genuinely more constructive. And they don't want him talking about that for too long. So, very short interview for Polanski, but here's a segment.
We've had an 80% increase in the entire membership since I became leader, and people are telling me what it's down to. People are feeling hope. They can hear that I'm talking about the fact that people's wages aren't high enough, the cost of living is too high, and actually what we really need to do is tackle the inequality at the heart of our society. The 4 wealthiest people in Britain own more wealth than 20 million people combined.
Yeah. Go for the rich, tax the rich. That's, of course, what we need to do. And the politics of hope is better than the politics of change. You don't just go to the coast like Farage does, point out to sea and try and blame migrants, because it's not migration that's fucking people over. It's the rich, it's the top 1%, and you could stop migration wholesale. You could just click your fingers and they'd all just disappear for some reason, and people would still be underpaid, the rich would still be dodging tax, people would still be paying too much for housing, too much for food, too much for the basics in life, utilities and such. So no, it's not migrants, and Zach's not even going to entertain that. That's just so much more refreshing. And he has filled the vacuum that's been opened by Labour, by Labour's shift to the right, and he's doing a very good job at it. I think just earlier on today I saw that they've now got up to 125,000 members, which means that they've gone past the Conservatives, and they're the 3rd biggest party by membership in Britain now, and they're in front of Labour in the polls, albeit by a fraction of a percent, and there is a margin for error within polling, of course, but when you look at the fact that it's the Greens who are on the ascendancy and Labour who are falling, it's only a matter of time. But we'll see in the polls next month. I'm sure that the Greens could be up to, say, around 16-17% and Labour down to 11-12. I don't even strongly doubt that they could get into the single figures at some point, because as far as unpopularity goes with Keir Starmer, that's a bottomless pit. That's a bottomless pit now, which is incredible when you look at some of the absolute shits that we've had running this country in recent decades, or even since post-war era, if you want to go back even further. Getting Zach in would certainly be music to my ears.
The Green Party, the only party really talking about the fact people are really struggling, they're tired and exhausted, and it doesn't have to be this way.
Right. You said in your conference speech you want to focus on the inequality by taxing the super rich. You don't want to tax people like hairdressers or plumbers. Yet you do want to raise £90 billion over 5 years from a carbon tax.
I just want to listen closely here, because I pointed something out on social media earlier about what Victoria Derbyshire says, or more or less unknowingly highlights in her line of questioning here, when Zach's talking about taxing the biggest polluters, large sums of money, as is clearly the right thing to do, not at least as a deterrent, but to maybe potentially try and save the planet instead of taking a massive dump all over it. So listen closely here.
Taxes on businesses to encourage them to become greener. Businesses will just pass those costs on to their customers, won't they? Hitting those hairdressers and plumbers.
But exactly. Yes, they will. Case in point as to one of the main flaws of capitalism, why, like I said on social media earlier, it's so destructive to society, because the profit line on the graph, on the chart, has to rise no matter what. And yes, if they're taxed, you think that they're just going to take that hit, because no, loss is not a concept that they want to even imagine or consider as a company or as investors. It's up, it's exponential growth, non-stop, forever. Even though our industry is based on a finite resource, we think that we can have infinite profit. Of course, that is complete and utter economic, financial and environmental lunacy. So she's really hit the nail on the head there, Victoria Derbyshire. It's like, yes, and this is a system that we have to stop. These fossil fuel companies and whatnot, have to be taxed at a massive rate. And they cannot be allowed. There have to be limits put on prices, regulation of prices, that sort of thing, so that it doesn't just get passed down. And she's just so dismissive about, oh yeah, but but capitalism's a thing, they'll just pass that down to hairdressers and, what was the other example, plumbers, whatever it was. And it's like, well yeah, but this shouldn't happen, so let's do something about it. Let's create a system that rewards work properly instead of just the 1%.
Well, I think there's a few things here. You've spent the programme talking about energy bills, and that's really, really important. Ed Miliband talked earlier about the decoupling. That's something the government could and should do. And actually, the reason
I'm asking about your carbon tax.
No, but the reason
do you
why
accept that businesses will pass the cost on to consumers?
Well, that's why with energy, for instance, we need to look at nationalising the energy companies. And the reason why I'm saying this is because all of these things for businesses will make their costs cheaper if their energy bills are down. Those are one of the biggest
Obviously, but Victoria, Derbyshire, I'm sure Laura Kussenberg, if she was hosting her own show, would choose to ignore the concepts of nationalisation, because of course that is, as Zach's pointed out, the remedy to all of this. Renewables would be about 7 to 9 times cheaper, and the only reason that there's so much pushback against this is, yeah, that does mean that fossil fuel companies will make a lot less money, and boo fucking who, because as far as I'm concerned, they've done enough damage to the planet. They shouldn't be allowed to profit from it, and should we properly shift to renewables, as we should do, we absolutely shouldn't even consider any form of reparations to them whatsoever, because they'll try and do that. They'll try and seek reparations from the government despite what they've done to the planet, despite the heinous things they've done. It was the same with the slave trade. Once the slave trade was ended, the slavers were given compensation at the cost of the British taxpayer. And just to highlight how bad that, we only finished paying that off towards the end of the last decade as taxpayers. In that particular example, they'll want that, they'll try and lobby for that, and they can get bent because they've already nearly destroyed our profit for our planet for a short-term profit. So no, yeah, if they want to move to renewables, they will probably still make profit, but a lot less than they will by flogging CO2.
Hits on businesses at the moment.
Sure. But are you saying you don't expect them to pass your massive carbon?
Sure. I just literally described a perfectly practical solution. Sure, whatever. It's like just so dismissive of nationalisation. And then, no, but just answer this question, man. Don't you think that they'll just pass that on to consumers? Will an energy company pass cost on to consumers? Of course they will. Just look at the track record. BP said a few years ago they've got so much money they don't know what to do with it. They make record profits, people's bills just go up and up and up, and they get away with it.
Tax onto customers?
No. So I think what we need to be doing is finding other ways to support particularly small and local businesses. These are vital, by the way, for tackling the climate crisis. We know the big corporations are destroying our environment, our democracy, and our communities. And actually what we need is that much more local businesses, those small to medium-sized businesses that actually can be rooted in communities, that are doing things for the public good. They can make a profit, sure, but this isn't about squeezing out every single profit they can make. And that's going on far too often with far too many huge businesses.
Okay. So you're not accepting that carbon tax would end up being a burden on plumbers?
Oh, with your bullshit, enough with your bullshit question that you think is the absolute, what's the word, the gotcha question that journalists search for when they're trying to trip up a guest. He has answered it, 2-3 times here now, perfectly reasonably, perfectly rationally. As Graham points out there, the answer is to renationalise. That's what Zach's saying as well. And she, yeah, okay. So back to me and my gotcha question, which I think is so great. I mean, just Victoria Derbyshire, yeah, admittedly, is marginally better than Laura Kussenberg. I'd rather see her regularly doing this Sunday show, because she is a bit tougher. She's a lot tougher, actually, on Tories and on Keir Starmer. But yeah, at the end of the day, neo-lib's gonna neo-lib. So
as hairdressers and most average households.
No, and we've been having this conversation. We've been having this conversation for decades
No,
because
that's
of the
fine.
cost
I
of
just
inaction.
wanted to be clear.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not.
yeah, it just needs to be clear. So take your pen or whatever the fuck you've got there. Scratch that question out. The one that she probably sat in a dressing room trying to come up with that for an hour before they went out there. But no, it's not done her any good, apparently. So that's... you can check out the full thing. It'll probably be on fucking iPlayer or whatever. In fact, Helena at No Justice and often in conversation with Kevin Logan do a full, in-depth Laura Kussenberg analysis. So you can put that on your watch list. Do highly recommend that channel. Those channels, respectively. What do you think about that, people? What about Derbyshire's line of questioning there? I thought Polanski did very well. I do obviously like Jeremy Corbyn, the vast majority of his policies, what he's about, of course. However, you can go back to his time as Labour leader with this as well from 2015. If he had one minor weakness which turned into somewhat of, not a major one, but how he handled the press, especially during live situations, wasn't always the best. And they were out to get him, obviously. He wasn't the sort of populist charmer that Johnson was supposed to allegedly be, and all the rest of it was. But sometimes when he sort of failed on the spot, it was pretty cringe. There were a few of those. Yeah, and a lot of that surrounding the AS stuff. But I think Polanski handles this really well. I think he really does. He has something of an advantage. But we are going to see your party growing as well. Obviously, still love Jeremy Corbyn, what he's about, Zara Sultana, and your party. But at the moment, whilst they started off with the 400,000 plus sign-ups it was on the website, it's now the Greens who have gotten slightly ahead. That's in terms of growth and media attention. Third biggest party. In case we need reminding. Happy Socialist Sunday. Peasants' revolts. Solidarity, nice to see you. Rhubarb WD, a good point there about the potential, and I certainly won't rule it out at this stage, of a hung parliament, and if the Lib Dems could be the kingmaker, so to speak, again, well, I hope not, because we know which way they'll go, based on last time. Ed Davey can do as many somersaults off of a trampoline into a canoe whilst juggling as he likes. But at the end of the day, when the chips are down, even Nick Clegg, who of course had that what appeared to be marvellously socialist manifesto back in 2010, sided with the Tories. That's what, sir. You think, sir? There's your first fucking clue. Sir Ed Davey. Of course he'll lean to the right. if it comes to that. But we'll have to see. At the moment, I'm hopeful about how influential the Greens and your party could be. And I guess we may as well see for why just now, actually. Yeah, we'll take a look at this first because this is a humdinger of a poll. It's an absolute humdinger of a poll, and I really hope, really, fingers crossed, hope it's accurate. You will as well. Just waiting for that to load up now. Sorry. System running a bit slow this evening. It's when I have to load Twitter up, it doesn't like streaming and Twittering at the same time. Zach does come from an acting background. That's another point there about the difference in style on camera. Yeah, trained actor, says the right thing. But you can't trust anyone who is an admirer of Clegg during the Cameron-Clegg coalition. I don't know, Clegg did have a lot of admirers pre-election. I've spoken to quite a few people who regret voting for him in 2010. And he's now in the wilderness, of course. As like his successor. It was the bollocks to Brexit that did it, wasn't it? Oh my goodness. Sorry, brief brain fart moment. I've forgotten her name entirely. But like Clegg, now in the Where Are They Now files, but yeah. Cushy business job. Where Clegg's concerned, of course. No, but I don't. Personally, I obviously hold him just as responsible as David Cameron for the austerity that followed the coalition of chaos between 2010 and 2015. And that was when Labour put up Ed Miliband, of course. Pretty disastrous for him. And then Corbyn. Right, this poll. Oh, no, not that. Sorry, wrong scene. That's coming up later, my left private eye. So from Stats for Lefties, look at this. This is eye-wateringly good, people. I need the screen monitor, of course. Just have to... move that over there. Your party, yes, your party will gain Birmingham Ladywood from Labour, and the significance of that is that it's currently held by Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, the current Home Secretary who replaced Yvette Cooper in the reshuffle, the rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, and not just marginally either. Look at that, 33% to 24%, Labour dropping 19. And straight out the gate with 33% is impressive. Now, it was previously an independent candidate. It's understood that they've now officially gone in with your party. They were likely to win the seat regardless. How's about that, people? So 9% in front. They're projected to take Birmingham Ladywood away from the current Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who used to go on pro-Palestine demonstrations, but now, of course, backs the prescription of groups such as Oh yeah, Graham, she's lost it. It's gone. Bye-bye, Birmingham Ladywood. That's incredible. That's really good. And how's about this, people? When I've spoken previously about just having one socialist candidate in each seat for maximum efficacy, and if your party and the Greens do this like for like, they'll win a lot more seats than they will trying to go on their own in every constituency, that's for sure. So in this situation, with the Greens on 19%, they could obviously say concede and back down, say to you, obviously your party are going to win, let's just reinforce that. If we step down, a lot of that 19% would go straight over to your party, and you'd be looking at over 50% of the vote share. And that's how you do it. If you want to see, and remember, it's first past the post, and it still will be first past the post when we get to the next election. Don't even think Starmer would try and save his career by throwing out PR before then, but he's probably not going to stand at the next election anyway. But can you imagine how many seats you'd see across the House of Commons if they did that in every constituency? Now, yeah, they're not going to win them all, but they'll certainly win a lot more than they would have done before. Oh, sorry, I'll just scroll down a bit further. You can't actually see them. You can guess by the colours, of course. There. That's still a massive surge for the Greens as well, it has to be said. 10%. Reform, not impressing people there. Very good indeed. Left of the Box, thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. I think we did a raid into one of your streams just recently. Nice to see this Socialist Sunday solidarity. And stateside as well, I believe. We were just talking about the No King's Day earlier, just going through some local UK polling at the moment. Definitely a channel that I recommend though, everybody. Check out Left of the Box. Solidarity. We're just absorbing this, you know, it's rare that you get so much good news, but people like your party and Zach Polanski are bringing us increasing hope. So just savour this 9% lead over the current government for this seat. Before I do get on to what will be coming up, oh, I did the spoiler, didn't I? It'll be my left private eye. But before that, just one other piece of UK news. This came up earlier. It's the sordid circle, isn't it, with Jeffrey Epstein in the middle of that Venn diagram once more. And this time we're focusing. We did Trump earlier, but we're going to focus this time on the Prince Andrew circle on that Venn diagram of alleged, I think I legally might be obliged to say that, alleged pederasts. Alleged. And now they're looking into claims that he sought information on his accuser, Tisk, people. Can we get some Tisks in the chat? Tisk. Prince Andrew, yes. The former Duke of York, he had 12 million quid. He gave it to someone he never met for a thing he never did. that Prince Andrew, and the Met are actively looking into media reports that he tried to obtain personal information about his accuser, Virginia Giuffre. We're aware of media reporting and actively looking into the claims made, the force said on Sunday. Now, this comes, of course, just days after he apparently voluntarily relinquished his title, former Duke of York. It was one of the conversation that he probably had with King Charles III was, you're going to lose them anyway. You can marginally save face if you give them up, or I can strip you of them, and that makes a slightly worse headline than you disgracefully giving them back. So do it, because he doesn't want that on his desk. But he really should be in court over this. He still gets royal level security and other benefits and privileges, of course, but he won't be using his title of Duke of York. That's what's happening with this. Virginia Giuffre, who took her own life early this year, said she was amongst the girls and young women sexually exploited and convicted by convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and his wealthy circle. Prince Andrew has not commented on the reports but consistently denies all allegations against him. Buckingham Palace has been contacted for comments. Reminder, Maxwell, who wasn't married to Epstein, currently serving a 20-year sentence. So he was trying to dig up dirt, obviously. That's, you know, that's your classic establishment tactic, isn't it? They don't just do it with politicians who they don't like. They do it to anybody who stands up to them, whatever it is. And a victim speaking out, they don't care. Somehow they think that they can try and make their accusers look worse than they do when they're accused of these horrible things. But they're completely power crazy and completely psychotic as well. Some of the stuff that people come out with as well. What's another recent example? Just back to Polanski. That whole hypnosis, breast augmentation thing. What the fuck was that all about? I didn't mention anything about that on my show, but it just goes to show the lengths that people try and go to dig up dirt on their political or personal enemies. So according to the Mail on Sunday, Prince Andrew asked his police protection officer to investigate Giuffre just before the newspaper published a photo of her first meeting with the Prince in February 2021. That'll be that famous one that he claimed was photoshopped of him with his arm around her waist, and she was 17 at the time, so that obviously makes it well underage in the States. Won't play that video. They managed to get a social security number. Wow. Date of birth, confidential social security number. Emily Maitlis, who did that notorious interview, said it's been a long time coming and 6 years has been a long wait for this. Well, yeah, it has. Managed to avoid court with that 12 million bung, aforementioned 12 million quid, because you just pay 12 million to people you've never met, don't you? Because when you know that you can get your fair hearing in court and justice will be done, yeah, that's when you pay out 12 million quid that you don't have and have to borrow from mother. Unbelievable. And it's also come out there's been some new flight logs, even more flight logs where he's been named, flight logs to the island, the notorious island. There's going to be more to come on that as well. So like him and Trump and Mandy and all these other people in this sordid Venn diagram with Epstein in the middle, more and more just keeps coming out. It'll be Mandy again next week. Just to remind you, he spent 4 days and 4 nights in their home on the island. Well, that was known of during the time of that interview. It's now obviously a lot more. So it gets worse and worse for Andy Pandy. It has been a long time coming though.
You dirty fecker.
Alright, people. No Man was gone. His free game. Yeah. I think, you know, I don't like royal correspondence and stuff, and people who wonder what colour dress Kate, air quotes, Kate, you know, trying to normalise whatever, but what sort of dress she'll be wearing at fucking Sandringham or whatever thing it is. Not into all of that, but I think behind closed doors, I don't think Andrew and Charlie have been getting along. I think their relationship might have been somewhat severed for a while. Got a few punks and rockers in the chat, can see a bit of a musical discussion there. Good stuff. Let's just make sure that's refreshed actually. No, I mention it. Okay, if you just join us on the chat, by the way, please do make sure that you hit the thumbs up button on the stream. I can see we've got 32 current viewers, so a few of you still haven't hit thumbs up. Please do help support the channel. Give us a follow on social media as well at MyLeftEyeUK. Just a reminder as well, super chats are open. Super thanks if you're watching back later. There's a buy me a coffee page in the description of the stream, or any of the other content on the channel, which I suggest you check out because it's bloody good, and some people put a lot of effort into editing them together at short notice, don't they, Philip? Okay. Right, people, time to put our detective hats on once again. That is detective hats, not tinfoil. I don't just go for any old shite, that's for sure. Where conspiracies are considered, where you challenge official narratives and whatnot. But of course, this being a socialist channel, this pertains to the power of governments, the power of other actors, shall we say, other nations, specifically or specifically Israel, and just how far their influence reaches. So that's why the Charlie Kirk case, for example, is so pertinent, so prominent. A lot of the pieces are starting to come together where motives concerned. Obviously, just pointed that out there. Kirk had started to realise just what the Israel lobbies are all about, and when he tried to wriggle free of their control, he found that's pretty much, you know, like when you hear about Scientology or whatever, people who try and get out of cults and so on and so forth, it's always the same. And some of them, a lot of them, certainly one of them in this particular case, are prepared to go to some extreme lengths to make sure that you don't leave, because you might be a grass. In fact, you might have already grassed. You might have already done it publicly with Tucker Carlson, for example, and Ben Shapiro. For example. Hypothetically. Right, so what we're going to get into... well, we're going to have the title sequence first.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh wow, a police chase!
Just kind of blending nicely to the normal background music, doesn't it? Yes, people, it's time for another episode of My Left Private Eye. Like I said, put your detective hats on, not your tinfoil hats. This is serious stuff. Been into the Charlie Kirk case a little bit in the past. Here's where we've gotten up to so far. Tyler Robinson, forget it. He didn't do it. He didn't have anything to do with this. Mauser 30.06 rifle. Shot from the front. Fucking forget it. Out the window. No chance. That's all been completely ruled out. Won't go over. Why? Because we're getting into some new ground here on this episode of My Left Private Eye. Now, I've obviously mentioned the idea previously that the shot came from a different direction, possibly the side or the rear. Turns out I might have been correct in both of those cases because of some incredible evidence that's come up, as well as something that by happenstance has brought up a lot of red herrings. A lot of theorists about this have gotten distracted with one element of the assassination that just appears to be by happenstance, and that's the necklace that was around Charlie Kirk's neck. And there's been a lot of speculation. There were some people who had that mixed up with his earpiece, for example. It brought up a lot of theories that turned out to be going in the wrong direction. Red herrings, like I said. But now it looks as though, through the use of some excellent technology and research, it has to be said, that a very, very, very probable conclusion has been reached as to what would explain this entry wound with no exit wound on Charlie Kirk's throat. Because everybody at first was thinking this guy got shot from the front in his throat with a Mauser 30.06. It would have his head and neck would have exploded like a watermelon, and for there to be no exit wound is quite mysterious. And this explains it, what I'm about to show you. The butler did it. Yeah, maybe. Well, while we can't actually identify someone by name, we can possibly, I think probably, identify who the shooter was as well. We're going to get into that. I'm going to go into this entry wound without an exit wound first, because I think that that has finally been resolved. And then, of course, on to whodunit. Well, Rachel thinks it was the maid. It's turned into a game of Cluedo. Which is known as just Clue, I think, in the States. Right, so, fortunately, but sort of ironically, this is, of course, a socialist channel. My interest in this is as to how Israel did this. We have to suspect strongest as potentially being behind this, as well as members of his security crew. But where the right-wingers are concerned, their enthusiasm has ironically turned out to be quite helpful. These Charlie Kirk fans, a lot of them have channels about guns, about firearms, this sort of thing. Obviously Kirk was a massive advocate for gun ownership in the United States. A lot of gun nuts, if you want to call them that, or gun owners, gun enthusiasts, backed him because of that. And it turns out that one of them, because of their obsession over this, not just with weaponry but also with Kirk himself, has drawn up some awesome evidence. Check this out. But first of all, just to quickly explain, this isn't a theory from the channel I'm going to show you now. I've got two clips coming up for you. The channel is called, and it clues in the title, Trigger Smart. Just what they're normally about, you know, normally, like I said, weapons enthusiast channel. But they've been emailed some evidence, which is what he's going to go through. This isn't actually his theory, his evidence. He's sharing emails that he's received from somebody else who's been looking into this. So yeah, Trigger Smart is the channel. I guess I have to give credit where it's due, even though I'm not a particular gun enthusiast myself. Not completely. Well, I guess you have to know certain things, but just giving credit to the channel basically. So yeah, first of all, the necklace, and then on to a new suspect. New revelations. Spoiler, the maid and the butler are Mossad.
So, in his theory, and we'll see some images here in a second, the pendant from the cavitation is whipped up into the neck, snaps on the right side, and starts to whip around.
I should have just quickly said there as well. Obviously, it goes without saying, you might hear some semi-graphic descriptions of the event. You're also going to see a frame-by-frame picture of the actual assassination itself. So just for the sort of faint-hearted, obviously it shows Kirk immediately going into cadaveric spasm, as it were, and so on and so forth. There's no gore, there's no blood, but and actually the reason for that is part of the theory you're about to see, or part of the evidence that you're about to see. So just wanted to warn anyone faint-hearted. Obviously this is describing an assassination, so you've been warned.
And you see it's still stuck, and it's whipping around the body. And as we keep coming, obviously the motion you would expect, flying around, and it ends up still stuck, hanging over the left shoulder. And you can see it hanging down, and that's when there's the blood and stuff starts to show. The pendant is probably finally pulled out of the neck wound by the centrifugal force. So we see all this here. So this is a pendant whipped up inside the neck when the shirt goes up. We see the chain here.
I'll zoom and enhance there, just so you can, as he scrolls down. So on these series of pictures, you'll see what is assumed it was a cross, a crucifix pendant, had bizarrely, like I said, by pure happenstance, been hit from the back, which we'll go into in a bit. Spoiler alert, from the back and the side, I should say. That's represented as it's lodged in his throat by the red dot, and then the chain of the pendant is represented by the blue line, which you can see here, but it'll go through it frame by frame. Don't know what the odds are, but it does look like whatever hit him, and it does seem to have struck him in the back of the neck. It wasn't a 30.06 caliber shell, should remind you, but just happened to have hit the pendant.
Chain there. Chain still flying. And as we go through all these frames, you see the chain still appears to be attached to his neck. Now that's one side of it, which means there's something there anchoring it. Could be a shirt. Could be this theory that the pendant went into the neck. And obviously they've covered this to not show any blood, but you can see it still appears to be anchored. You can see this chain right here going up. See it here still hanging over his shoulder. Now, most chains are going to have enough weight that if this was just simply hanging on the side of a shirt or something, it definitely would have fallen off by now. And you see here, it's wrapping around his shoulder and comes around this way. Same here. So at this point, it seems like it's attached to him. So how is it attached? It was just hanging around his neck. So in this case, it does seem like something is holding it in around that area.
Yeah, what freak happenstance, whatever hit him from the back and side, I'll show you shortly, hit the pendant directly, or his own movement, of course, like I mentioned. If he died instantly, which strongly suggests is the case, goes into cadaveric spasm. That's the raising of the hands and this sort of clawing of the hands, sorry, the raising of the arms and clawing of the hands as well. As you see in front of you here, it's not like it is in the movies, people. It's incredible. What are the odds? What are the odds of something like this happening? But this has created so much speculation about why he had a wound in his throat. There's no bullet in his throat. There's no exit wound. This mysterious wound. But left of the box has another theory there, that it could have been Magneto, one of the X-Men, X-People, and you saw him use a pendant in a movie once, so it must be true, of course. Or maybe it is like in the movies. I just literally said a minute ago it's not like in the movies, didn't I? You're a fucking hypocrite, you lefties. You said it a minute ago. No, tongue-in-cheek, of course. Well, you never know. No, Peasants Revolt, it definitely wasn't me either. I've got an alibi. It's Flow Snake and others of my alibi.
So this theoretically would make sense for this theory. Now I received another message. Upon examining later of the rotating necklace footage, it turns out the necklace keeps dangling there, still stuck in the neck, until the camera turns away. So the necklace with the pendant probably got pulled out of the wound only as the security guys were putting Charlie on the ground, or someone pulled it out actively.
Yeah, I reckon only the guards who acted suspiciously, hand signals and all this other stuff I showed you, one who rushed around and started filming. A few live streams ago.
Probably just wanting to get the necklace out of the way. Not even.
But one of them's definitely got the answer to this. It was probably still lodged in there when they all went over the table and everything. And now you think about it, when you do think about just how many questions they could answer, don't you feel that they've been markedly silent, perhaps? Since I can't really remember much, if anything, coming up directly from his security team, people who were part of his entourage on the day, which might be suspicious in itself.
Been giving it a second thought. So here you see the necklace is still hanging there. You see here, he's starting to slump over. He's starting to fall. There's blood already coming out, and it still is attached. You can see the chain right there. He's still falling. Chain is still attached. And as they go through all these frames, the chain is still there.
Yeah, and you can see from his position there, obviously, clearly, obviously the blood's been blurted out, but he's clearly had it there. Rachel Atwood, thanks a lot for that super chat. Nobody Cool's got a birthday today, but the channel recently, last week, celebrated second birthday, so we'll call it a belated birthday super chat. Thanks a lot again for that. Let's big up Rachel in the chat, please, everybody. Solidarity.
So as you can see, and you re-illustrated this again, he or she, that, I mean, it's just hanging out there. So if it was a cross or something like that, the chance of it staying in that position, like here's a better view, the chance of it staying anywhere on his shirt or anywhere there is pretty slim. You know how chains work. It would have fallen down the front or fallen off the side typically, or fallen out completely based on the weight of the chain. But this is like anchored here. You saw it swing around his entire body and come around, and now it's hanging for multiple frames of him falling in all these different positions. And it ends up still being there even before he hits the ground. So as crazy as this theory is, based on these images and these screen grabs, assuming these aren't doctored or anything, which they don't appear to be to me, besides these blue marks to show where the chain is, this is a pretty interesting theory. Let's go ahead and look at what they said. And I went to ChatGPT, which is not the end all be all, but what it said is, if the pendant or chain is directly struck or severed, the chain being severed, which maybe could have happened from cavitation or from the bullet hitting the back of the head, that the pendant can become a high-energy secondary projectile and be whipped into tissue that can pierce the skin and soft tissues and penetrate or lacerate the carotid, or in this case, the jugular, and lodge in the sheath around the soft tissue. Case reports document metal and shrapnel foreign bodies and retain fragments in the carotid region after trauma. Now, the practical summary. Could a pendant or chain be driven into the neck and penetrate or lacerate the carotid or jugular region, causing bleeding, embolism, or artery issues?
Of course it can. Haven't you ever seen Final Destination? You could just, oh God, I work at the toothpick factory, and there was this horrible incident today. You should have seen it. You know, something was just innocently left near a window. A gust of wind caused this. Ultimately, a chain of events led to a horrendous industrial accident, and someone got 87 toothpicks in their jugular artery. You know, these things can happen. On one of those shitty Jurassic Park reboots recently, they managed to somehow shut down an entire park and release a load of dinosaurs because of a misplaced chocolate bar wrapper that got into a small vent that was on an automatic door. Oh yes, don't rule things out so hastily.
Yes, plausible, especially if the pendant is struck or the chain is broken, which we know the chain was broken and looks like it's flying off of him. The pendant becomes a secondary projectile, or if the bullet itself or fragments produce a penetration. Case reports exist in metallic foreign bodies. So this is saying, yes, it is plausible. How probable? We never know.
Yeah, let's be clear. This has just thrown out a lot of red herrings. He still would have died regardless from the wound that came from the back and the side, probably. I suspect so, that we're about to get into. Yeah, But that's what happened. DJ Super Tiny just in there, whipped around like you just saw, and then out. It's ironic. You can't argue it's ironic. I know it's a bit of grim humour, but yeah, for someone who claims to be a hardened Christian, having that happen to them, even though it was, as I said, probably inconsequential, but it has thrown out a lot of theories. Oh, it's the earpiece, and it proves this, and yada yada yada. Yeah, I had to wade through a lot of that to get through to this sort of stuff, which is a lot better, especially with the pictures and the quality of the footage. You're going to see even more of that in a moment, but I think it's some of the best I've seen so far.
But it says it is possible, so that's just based on me asking it the situation. If he's shouting,
oh, we got the who done it coming up. Sit tight, JK. This part's just about to end, and then we're going to get into the who done it. We do have a major suspect in this.
On the back of the head, there's cavitation. Maybe the chain itself was struck in the back, and his shirt flew out and everything. There's enough force for that. Would there be enough force for this pendant?
Basically, Chat GPT says yes is what he's getting at there, but I don't know why I carried on playing that. It's just, you know, take that as you will. Like he said, it's not the be-all and end-all, is it? But let's get on to the whodunit part of this investigation. It was Ace Frehley of Kiss faked his own death sometime. Normally joking. But who's this suspicious character that you're about to see? Get your detective hats on, people.
Now, this is another very interesting part, because everyone's talking about these people that were just kind of hanging out, including his bodyguards, right? Saying they were doing hand signs and they were grabbing things and moving things and doing some suspicious activity. And one guy was wearing sunglasses and looked like he actually took a picture, for example. But this is a whole different point of view coming up here. And again, I did this video because all of this stuff is so intriguing to me. Now, here's where we get into a conspiracy theory area. So seconds before the shot, the car trunk behind Charlie got open. There seems to be a dark, bulky... Investigation
area. Conspiracy. I don't mind saying it's a conspiracy theory. There are a few out there that I certainly go along with. Just trying to get you a good point of view there. This is just him going through his email from where he's been. This is Trigger Smart again, just to remind you. The guy who's narrating is Trigger Smart, but these are things that have been sent to him from someone else.
Round head.
Who's done the homework, like, pretty well. Take a look at this.
Of a person standing at the trunk as it is opening, which is right there. And there's a vehicle back there. A couple vehicles back there. Once open, the head disappears, is not visible anymore. It doesn't seem the person left to the sides of the car. So the person gets out of the car and just kind of hangs out there. And you can see you have the different security guys standing up there with him. And he's right here. So you can see his shoulder right in that spot. And then you see the person kind of disappears, but they don't walk off, right? So they're just hanging out somewhere in the dark back there. All right, so right after the shot, the trunk of the car in the tunnel behind Charlie. So remember, the car is back there. Someone, their head popped up. They don't leave, but they're still in that general area. The trunk of the car in the tunnel behind Charlie that got open just seconds before the shot is now shut again. So the car, someone gets out of the car. They kind of crouch, or they're just hanging out there, and we'll see another angle here in a second. And then seconds after the shot's done, then the trunk closes. So the trunk is opened up here, right? So seconds before the shot, the trunk opens. Someone seems to get out. Trunk is open. And then here, now the trunk is closed. And that's just seconds after the shot. Some people are fleeing towards the car. There's two people calmly standing at the car, each one at one side of the trunk. When seeing that he's being filmed, the guy instinctively raises his hands to...
Oh, what a coincidence. It opens, Charlie gets shot, and then it's closed again, and someone suspiciously stood in front of it trying to divert people away from the car, or the boot of the car, the trunk of the car as it's known in the United States of America. Very suspicious, but it gets curiouser and curiouser, people.
To his face and forehead, as you can see here. And glimpses of the other person in the car corner, or the corner of the car, who seemed to direct people away from the trunk to the side of the car with his hand. So this person here is trying to get people away from the trunk. I don't know if someone's in there or what's going on, but if the shooter was in there, then that would explain why he's doing that. He's trying to take attention away from that area. You see a few of those. All right, and then you can see, we're going to see a very interesting thing here in a second, but you're seeing reflections of other people running around and a few people standing here, right, kind of blocking the car, guarding the car. Now, in that video of people running for cover, they run past the car and hide behind it for a while. For 4 frames, it looks like there's something like the barrel of a gun pointing up and being put down within those 4 frames inside the car trunk. Now, the barrel definitely doesn't look like the person on the other side of the car. It looks like some object moving within the car. At one point, it also looks like the head of a person next to the barrel, who's presumably holding the gun, standing upright on the floor of the car and gradually putting it down. That round, bulky object is similar to the head of the person that was standing near the trunk before the shot. And then there was something round and bulky, which could potentially be a person with a blanket over it. Now, if you look, this is what they're talking about. This looks like a some sort of suppressed firearm through the window here, right?
So can you see that towards the left there? It's sort of got a yellowy green thing around it, but it's the silhouette, the dark object there, which is the barrel of a weapon. Appears to be the barrel of a weapon, and I think that they've identified it. Of course, these gun enthusiasts know a lot more about models, accessories, in this case suppressors, than I certainly do. But that looks like what you're looking at here. That shape, just there within the yellow and green, towards the left of you shot there. No pun intended. Towards the left of the screen.
Right. And if I keep going down, here's a little bit better shot.
That's it again, yeah.
So you see kind of a figure in here.
Yeah. So that's someone holding it up, sat in the vehicle, dark figure. You can make out the silhouette there as well. They're definitely holding something up, which has got an attachment or accessory of some sort. Is this your person? Is this your guy? Or girl? Or they, them? Is this them? Is this them?
And then you see what looks like, to me, looks like some sort of short AR-15 or something similar. It looks like it could be suppressed. Looks like it has handles and other things on it, maybe light, but some form of rifle possibly here, and then a person. And that's what they're saying here. And you can see it again there. This is the 4th frame, and you can clearly see a person sitting there inside that vehicle. Another shot. And then this is the person. You can see the seat, and then you can see hair.
So different angle there. Yeah, you can
and you can see the person, kind of their head area right here. So you have people outside the car trying to prevent people from looking inside the car and being near the car. And then you have someone clearly in the car that looks like they have...
Well, we you know, the phrase conspiracy theory came up there. If you're talking about someone who is in that vehicle, who is the shooter, and other people who are actively deflecting attention away from it, then that counts as a conspiracy. That is multiple people conspiring to carry out an act, is how it's defined.
a firearm sitting with them in there. And this was just seconds after the shot. The end of the object is not totally different than the barrel of a PCP gun with a silencer adapter at the end.
Something like that.
And the overall shape of a gun, possibly wrapped around with something, is apparently there. So they're saying some kind of device like this at the end, maybe some kind of compensation. It doesn't look like a full suppressor, obviously, at least from this case. And then finally, there's Mr. Goodman, who might have found the projectile captured on video. Yes, it is technically possible, and everyone who knows videography knows that. It has to do with its shutter speed, which is independent of frame rate. What a coincidence to capture 3 similar shiny bugs or objects other than the projectile in a straight line right before the impact in line with Charlie's head in equal distance from each other, which if the bullet was coming at a steady rate, which it basically would at that range, then you're looking at the shutter cutting it in 3 equal slices. My whole explanation doesn't really need this point, but it's good to be aware of. So now what he's saying is, due to the frame rates of video and camera, that a bullet could theoretically be seen, and he's saying it got cut in 3 equal slices based on the frame rate and the bullet coming through. So we're going to take a look at that.
Yeah, if you've got, I mean, this is some serious professional kit here, but if the frame rate is so quick that it could pick up a bullet or a similar projectile in flight, again, by happenstance at the right time, you could certainly catch it on camera.
All right, so now here we can see we have these 3 images, and these little white specks are supposed to be the bullet.
What do you think? What do you think about those? I'd say that's very convincing. That's very convincing. From the back, that would correlate with the angle. If he suggested that the shot came from the truck. And those 3 obviously superimposed over one another in this to create obviously the effect that you can see the 3 of them. That's just one bullet going through the air, not three bullets behind the other, one behind the other, just to highlight that. That's just the way that it's being illustrated. So clear. That is the same object on a clear trajectory. I think you've got to say that is the bullet. Remember, it was just one bullet. Midi Doctor, is great to see you. Not quite a grassy knoll situation with it just being one shot. I think, but the grassy knoll was certainly the final fatal shot. Back into the left. Back into the left. Yeah. That famous footage. What was the fellow's name? Ernest Zapruder, was it? Yeah. So I think in this case they've potentially caught the bullet there. On camera, I should say.
Now this middle one looks larger than the other 2, but the first one and the third one definitely look like they could be a bullet. And they're coming from behind the stage and coming towards the back of his head. Now, if this is the case, then all of this so far that we've talked about would make sense. And like you said, the frame rate of the camera would chop it up as it comes in. So if this had been further away, then we may see 6 or 7 of these that were split apart in that same straight line, right towards the back of his head, occipital lobe. And then as I'm going through all this and reviewing it, he actually sends me another email. And he says, I might have just found the shooter's arm and elbow. It seems during the shot itself, he might have actually been next to the car. Let me zoom in here. Next to the car.
Yeah, give it a chance, JK. There's more to come. I think that line with the bullets there, that's definitely convincing. Shapes, shadows, this sort of thing. Yeah, that's another matter entirely. I think that was at least very clear. And take a look at this as well.
Are lowered kneeling, elbow to the side when aiming a gun. See these images. So the same guy with the ponytail who was later calmly standing at the rear corner of the car after the shooting. That's number 1. So he's standing right here. And then we have number 2, a bulky dark cat of a person. That's the one who got out and shot. So now to me, this actually almost looks like a person wearing a mask, to be honest.
Zoomed and enhanced there. I don't know if you can make that out a bit better. Who's this guy? Who's this guy right there? That's Trigger Smart's cursor, not mine, on the screen. Person 1, person 2. What's going on back there? There's something going on back there. Are we allowed to stop mourning him yet? Yes, I'd never really started in the first place, to be honest, Gunt. Yeah, just to be very clear, I wasn't a Kirk fan, in case that wasn't obvious going into this for other reasons. Will probably turn out that it was Mossad, for example. So who are these suspicious actors that we've got going on here? Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Didn't much care for him, but he seems to have been at least somewhat useful in exposing Israel. I'll leave it zoomed in for a while. I think he's just going to talk about this for a bit.
It's really hard to tell, but definitely a person, definitely dark, standing next to another person. And then number 3, an elbow of a lowered, kneeling person sticking to the side as when aiming. So it looks like this person might have, maybe that's the elbow or the arm right there, holding the gun, aiming towards Charlie Kirk, who is sitting right here. This is...
No, it definitely wasn't Tyler Robinson. I've got some other information surrounding Tyler Robinson that I'll share with you after this, but it does raise more suspicions. I can, as far as I'm concerned, there's no way I'm convinced that it was Tyler Robinson. Yeah, Peasants Revolt. That kid didn't do it. Even the right know that. Quite correct there. Flowsnake, you mourn that the debates he was engaged in got cut short. Hunter Kozak was wiping the floor with him. Well, yeah, if that conversation could have carried on.
All seconds before the shot. Trunk starts opening. Guy 1 starts adjusting his ponytail, taking up more space and providing more visual cover right here. The other person is now kneeling down right here. Head 2 is not visible anymore. Elbow 3 still hanging in place there. You see it right there. Okay. Charlie Kirk sitting right here. Clear line of sight. Neither one of his guards.
Let's quickly show you where you can see Kirk there. That's his white t-shirt, just to show you the angle. If you can get that while I'm zoomed in on this person of interest. These people of interest, I should say.
Are just looking behind. They're putting all their effort forward, even though they didn't have snipers on the roof, and they kind of missed that whole thing. There's a pretty good chance the shot didn't come from the roof, according to what this is saying. Elbow 3 moving around slightly right here. The other one is, for some reason, putting both arms up. The bodyguard behind Charlie steps aside, which might have enabled clear visual the shooter has been waiting for. So this person right here, if you look here, they're kind of blocking the shot here. Then you come down here and they move this way a little bit.
I think that's the same guy who removes the SD card from the camera just after it happened as well. Do you remember that happening? I think it was, I think he was referred to as Sunglasses Guy in another video. But yeah, tampering or removal of evidence from the scene of a crime.
To their right. The shot follows quickly after. The shooter might not have been able to move around freely and needed to stay right at the sweet spot where he knew he would be least visible, most covered by person 1. Possibly person 2, the car, tent, and other people facing away from him. This is a close-up of the ponytail guy right here. And this is the vehicle that opened up and took the shot. Okay, let's do a quick recap. So vehicle opens trunk from behind.
Just resize here while it goes through this. That's a good question there in the chat about the other guy who got arrested, shouted out, I'd do it again, I think is what he shouted out, wasn't it? Yeah, he dropped his pants and said he'd done it. I think he still could bear relevance to this. I'm just not exactly sure how and why at the moment. Wouldn't rule it out. Potentially as maybe a decoy, something like that. It could just be a genuine attention-seeking crazy person. Who knows? There's an interview on Channel 5 with the last guy who spoke to Kirk. I've not seen that, actually. But it's not very good. Okay, thanks for the shit recommendation. Or is that any good? Do you just mean the channel isn't very good, but that's worth watching? Thanks for the recommendation.
Behind Charlie Kirk, behind the tent, where none of his security is looking, right? They're all looking forward. And then the person gets in position when his guard kind of moves to the side, takes the shot, hits him in the occipital lobe, which causes the bullet to go downwards and hit the other vertebrae and sit under the skin. That also causes a pressure.
Yeah, so this is why there was no exit wound. This is why the bullet was found under his skin immediately upon contact, hitting the vertebrae. It broke the vertebrae, causing near instantaneous death, but then took a downward path and buried itself under his skin. Hence, no exit wound. And again, not as bizarre as the pendant thing, the crucifix pendant, if that's what it was. Something sharp and spiky enough anyway. But again, slightly bizarre turn of events that has brought up a heap of other theories and whatnot, but this would seem to round all of that off together, if it is in fact how it went down.
Pressure wave in his neck and possibly actually hit the back of the necklace. The necklace, which is going down his neck with a pendant sitting on the right side. I think I'm flipped here in my camera, so I apologize for that. The important piece is that when he gets hit and that there's that expansion, his shirt blows up, shirt blows off in the back from all the pressure.
Yeah, do you remember it looked as though something somehow had inflated his t-shirt, and we didn't really get to the bottom of that, and it might have been this lapel mic, something to do with his lapel mic, but it's perhaps pure movement of the body at the moment of impact.
The necklace explodes off the side, and then you see the shirt come up, and then at the same time that pendant, which looks like a cross, comes up and hits him in the neck, and that's what causes that major wound there. And then the shirt and the pendant both come back down, and then that's where he has that exit wound, or that entrance wound, whatever people are calling it. And that would explain why it looks so gnarly and doesn't look like a bullet hole of any type in or out. And then obviously he dies instantly. It hits him in the vertebrae. He seizes up. He goes to the side. He's bleeding out of his neck, and there's not blood pumping out, as if he got shot in his carotid, because when he got hit in the back of the neck, his heart stopped, and that made it so he wasn't actually pumping out blood. That would explain why it's just kind of dripping out and not spraying out. So seconds after that, then you have the back of the vehicle closes, and you can see for multiple frames, 4 frames, that there's a person, or looks like a person in the vehicle. Clearly you can see their head, and you see what looks like a gun sitting in their lap for 4 frames. And then you see people trying to distract and get people away from the back of the vehicle, including the guy in the ponytail. And then obviously Charlie Kirk was dead at that point. So this is a very interesting version of what this person thinks happened. Definitely put your comments down below. I mean, this is probably the closest to what makes the most sense to me of everything I've seen so far. The shot from behind that, went from the back of his head out through his neck from the building didn't make sense to me for everything else that happened. The explosion in the front didn't make sense to me, especially with the hair and the skin going up in the back of his head. It made 0 sense whatsoever. And then you have the shot from the front, which obviously wouldn't hit those vertebrae if it went through the neck here and it wouldn't have stuck in the skin, especially from that distance if it was a 30-06 or something similar. So this seems like maybe it was a weaker round. Could even have been a 5.56, but in this case, I think this story makes a lot of sense. Now,
so he's done quite a few videos about this Trigger Smart, if you want to go and check him out. Did sort of trim it off the end there, but he was a fan of Kirk's. But like I said, ironically, their desire to get to the bottom of this, even as potentially politically right-wing people, uploaders, weapons enthusiasts, etc., they can actually be pretty insightful when it comes to this. You know, go and check out some more if you want for yourselves, but I think that's turned up some very interesting questions. Something else I do quickly want to go through, as I said, surrounding Robinson himself, how you can rule him out, and suspicious things surrounding his accusation and arrest. So you can find out, basically Google traffic searches, this sort of thing, and someone's noticed, obviously on the day of the event itself and afterwards, a great deal of people were searching for Tyler Robinson. They were also searching for the building that he was supposed to have allegedly, which he didn't take a shot from, which he didn't, and also the weapon used, this Mauser. A lot of searches for that, but it's turned out that 2 days prior to the event, there was a spike of searches for those very things. Not as big of a spike as after the event, obviously, but why would people be searching for Tyler Robinson? Why would people be searching for that specific building? And why would people be searching for that specific Mauser 30.06? And that traffic, you know, obviously this wasn't some last minute plan by Robinson, and all of these spikes are caused by him alone. Oh no, given the size of them. 2 days prior, as I said, very suspicious indeed. Let me know what you think about that in the chat as well. You want the 2 days earlier story verified? Okay, I'll try and find the channel again. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It does look genuine. Whilst we're on My Left Private Eye, I was going to go on to this developing story today of a robbery at the Louvre. But we're a bit behind time, still got a couple of stories to get onto, so might talk about that on another stream. Some pretty famous, priceless bits of artwork have apparently been nabbed. But that'll be all for now. We'll be back perhaps through next week with another episode of My Left Private Eye.
One more question, sir, about those sacks of gold.
Oh wow, a police chase!
I'm glad to see you liking My Left Private Eye there in the chat. Yeah, always good to get feedback on features and stuff. DJ, good luck with the darts there. Catch you next time. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Yeah, later on My Left Private Eye. Coming up. God, that was very Clarkson, wasn't it? The best stream in the world. Yori, is that hello and goodbye as well? CSI left eye. CS left. Oh, good one. Good one. Yeah, the puns just write themselves. Some of them do. Thanks a lot, though, for the feedback. You're a great bunch.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yes, I can dig it. As someone else pointed out in the chat, an action-packed episode this evening indeed. Thanks again for another super chat, this time from MIDI Doctors. Thanks a lot. Fully appreciated. Let's big up MIDI Doctors in the chat, please, everybody. Just give that a thumbs up. Myself. Yeah, the lapel mic thing I've more or less put on the back burner at the moment. Blow. I did have... Oh no. The chat's crashed. Oh, flippity bollocks. Reloading. I hope this isn't a hack from your right eye. No, it isn't. It isn't. We've set up extra firewalls about that. In fact, tell you people as the chat fortunately revives itself that we just keep this to yourselves, people. We might be plotting some sort of counter hack attack on my right eye because things like that just won't stand. They just won't stand. So your right ear might be in for a bit of a surprise. I doubt that they're listening anyway. Perhaps keep an eye out for that during the week. Let's move on though. Maccabi, whatever, Tel Aviv fans, these twats, these violent thugs that Keir Starmer chooses to welcome onto our shores. This is them in Greece. Yeah. Just full-scale thuggery. Should be back now. Buffering there. Think we're back. Think we're back. Yeah. MIDI Doctor's good point there. Why is Starmer dying on this hill? Over the public argument about this. It's ridiculous. You can check out the video we did last week if you want to know my thoughts about it. But it's just reprehensible and so obvious now. Just how controlled they are by the lobbies. It's like jumping how high stuff, it really is. So yeah, that was in Greece. That one from Amsterdam as well. I used this one. This is from Middle East Eye. From Middle East Eye to my left eye. No, seriously, this isn't nothing matter. I think we might have covered this when it happened. Tearing down of Palestine flags, checking football hooligans and chants the racism. They're just pure scumbags, and we don't want them coming here. And this isn't without precedent. Just because it happens to be a club from Israel, that's why. Starmer's getting his knickers in a twist, why it's all over the panel shows and whatnot. They fall over themselves to leap to the defence of what is now internationally recognised as genociders. And to race bait with it as well, to try and use anti-Semitism as a political weapon, which is reprehensible. That is the anti-Semitism. And I think that was summed up pretty well. Is sort of chance I'm referring to. With stuff. James Schneider was on GB News and actually, bizarrely, was allowed to talk at length about this, but I think he summarised it particularly well. That's why I'm going to share this clip with you now. Because he's completely on point. This shares my sentiments as well. You might recognise James Schneider. Actually used to be, I think it was Corbyn's press secretary. He was high up in Jeremy Corbyn's press office. Can't remember if it was secretary or whatnot. But that aside, really good stuff from James Schneider.
The idea that all Jews are represented by some racist hooligans from Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters is absolutely absurd. In fact, I think that is anti-Semitic. I find it really weird why people can't be remotely consistent. There were Polish fans from Legia Warsaw who were banned by the same West Midlands police from playing in Aston Villa at Villa Park 2 years ago. There wasn't this outpouring as if that was an anti-Polish activity. They're banned from, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans are banned from Amsterdam because of the riots that took place when they played PSV beforehand. Frankfurt fans are banned from Naples because of previous violent activity. PSV fans have been banned from Paris Saint-Germain in France. None of this was presented as if this was an attack on all people from Germany or all people.
So many examples there, even British clubs, even English clubs, as he has pointed out, French, Dutch, all sorts. But when it comes to an Israeli club, oh no, the exceptionalism alarm's going off. Let's all assume that this is an attack on a religion because, lobbies are going to lobby.
People from the Netherlands or all people from Poland or anything like that. The fact is, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, when they played in the last Europa League time in Amsterdam, it went on a racist, violent rampage, which you can see why a police force wouldn't want them there, which is why they're not welcome in Amsterdam either. You have to be consistent. So if you think that it's sensible for the police to not allow away fans if they have a track record of being violent and starting fights in particular places, then you have to be consistent.
Do you think there's any sort of link with the fact that there's been a war?
If you look at what happened in Amsterdam, where Maccabi Tel Aviv fans went round tearing down Palestine flags, their chants are extremely... I couldn't repeat them on air. One of them includes saying that there are no children in Gaza because they have all been killed. So Yes, of course, that's part of the context of this. Part of the form of their racist hooliganry is based on what Israel has been doing in Gaza.
I don't think you can actually say that by nature these Israeli fans are hooligans.
I'm not.
Or give this guy, literally a grey man in a grey suit, dives in, and look at all the videos. Look at that. How can you ignore that? It's just... Get real, guy.
I'm not saying Israeli fans in general. I'm saying Maccabi Tel Aviv fans have been shown to be behaving in racist...
Possibly. As though... I've just shown you at least 3 videos of it. I could show you another dozen or scores of them, at least. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, I think is what he's going for there. Well done to James Schneider. This other guy really doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, people, so something else has come up in this. You might have noticed, was it last Thursday when all this started coming out? When the ban was announced and, well, Starmer and others started to, you know, protest profusely. Thou protesteth too much, I think as the saying goes. And you might have seen a certain face knocking around, claiming to represent a certain section of the Aston Villa fans. This is, of course, the other club concerned, the home club for the fixture, Aston in Birmingham, here in the West Midlands of England. But lo and behold, people, it's turned out that they are a Zionist lobby plant. Show you this in just a moment. Need to give shout out to Andy Carter, who's celebrated 16 months of membership. Yeah, it's been great to have you, Andy. Hope you're well this Socialist Sunday. Always good to see people celebrating month anniversaries or whatever the word is. 16 months as well. Yeah, long-term supporter. Really appreciate it. Big up Andy in the chat. Let's show some solidarity, people. Where we're going to? I think it's a tweet. Yeah, Politics for You put this up earlier. Just go to that. This fella right here. This guy, been going around, he got on Sky News, was probably the biggest outlet, others as well. Says he's the honorary president of the Aston Villa Jewish Villains? Villains as in Aston Villa, not villains as in antagonists, although it's ironically correct in that context as well now. So he's the Aston Villa Jewish Supporters Club, basically. Just changing the words round slightly. But he isn't actually the honorary president of the Aston Villa Jewish Supporters Club. There isn't such a club. And this person isn't even Jewish. Politics for You reporting this. And he's not the president of anything, but other than that, it's a great scoop for Sky News. Politics View declare themselves as chairman and supreme leader of the Yeovil Town Buddhist Supporters Alliance. Says it all. So what, he just rings up news desk, Sky News desk. Yeah, you want to get me on, mate? I'm the honorary president of the Aston Villa Jewish Villain Supporters Club, actually. And then lo and behold, broadcasting to millions. This guy, I mean, come on. That's a fraud. That's an open fraud. Perhaps West Midlands Police should be getting involved with this. What a sack of shit. Just look at the lengths that they're prepared to go to try and garner sympathy for their racist hooligans. That's as desperate as gets. At the club, it's worth pointing out, have been steadfast. Have refused to back down so far. And then Starmer keeps saying, well, this is going to go higher and higher, you know. I used to be the Director of Public Prosecutions, in case you didn't know. Whatever he's going to try and threaten them with. I'm people who know people, you motherfucker. Or whatever he's going to... if he's going to try and go gangster. Yeah, he learnt some tips on how to handle people while he was over in the White House and in Tel Aviv, perhaps. Pure thuggery. But I think Starmer might turn to that just as well as he does boxing or any other. Do you remember when he did the HGV driving test as well? And he reversed into whatever it was, he failed. And then he said, very good, didn't he? Or excellent. Such a tool, isn't he? Starmer. And we got from, you know, cutting the half-time orange to, you know, welcome one and all fascists into the stadiums of our country. We got there pretty quickly, didn't we? That escalated pretty fast. Not got the Anchorman meme to hand for that one. So I hope that they do keep the resolve, and we'll see just how far this may or may not go. I'll tell you one thing though. If somehow they do manage to badger Aston Villa and the police to not allow this to go ahead for security reasons, if they get to hoodwink them or whatever it is, and the fixture goes ahead with both sets of fans, here's what's going to happen, people. You know what's going to happen because of all this. Don't think that word won't have obviously reached the fans themselves. They'll be trying to make as much of a meal of this as they can. They've even got Yaxley Lennon jumping on board with them over this one. That is only going to add potency to just how reprehensible their behaviour will be if they come over to Aston in Birmingham. And if you thought it was bad in Amsterdam, if you thought that it was bad in Greece and all these other places, because they do it everywhere they go, which is why they get a reputation, which is why they get banned in the first place, it's probably going to be the worst that we've ever seen. And that will have been heightened and drummed up by people like Keir Starmer, by the mainstream media, by people who just can't say, oh yeah, the hooligans, they should not be allowed here. It should be an open and shut thing, but the melodrama and hyperbole over this is, you know, it's enough to make you want to bang your head against a wall. figuratively. Is the ground far from the airport? I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head, Graham. Perhaps Kevin Logan would be better suited to answer that question than I would be, but on November the 6th, when the fixture's set to go ahead, you certainly wouldn't really want to find yourself anywhere between the airport and Villa Park, unless you were going to choose out to go out and counter-protest. Who knows? Not sure if it would be a bit short notice for a My Left Eye excursion. We've never done a video in the Midlands, actually. That would be something. The local community will be out in force. I certainly hope so. Midi doctors. Yeah, I wouldn't want that around here. I'm sure that you wouldn't want that in your communities. There have been times where I've had to stand up to that myself in Manchester, and I've travelled to other communities as well to do the same. Absolutely prepared to. So where were we? Yeah. Shady, underhanded, chicanery, tactics, whatever you want to call it, coming from the pro-Zionists. Just checking if I've got any other relevant bookmarks there. Oh, I did have one. It was just a list of other clubs that have been banned, but I think James Schneider mentioned most of those earlier on. Well, we're going on towards 3 hours now for the stream. Like I said, lots to talk about. And I guess that segues us just into Gaza in general. Yeah, the why aren't you celebrating the ceasefire crowd have had their gotten their answer, as predicted rather swiftly as well. The ceasefire is well and truly broken, unfortunately, as predicted, not pessimistically but realistically by myself and a great many others. We'll get into that in a moment. But first of all, let's start off with something more positive. A great speech you're going to see here from a great campaigner, great British campaigner, Fiona Lally, as well. I came across this video recently, so I'll share that with you now. And then we're going to get on to an interview with, he's actually the head of the PSC, Ben Jamal. But I really think you're going to love this testimony first from Fiona Lally. Let's kick off with that.
These people are murderers. They do not care.
Sorry,
they do
that
not
was
care about
very
any
loud at the
death,
start.
whether it's the death of Palestinians or the death of anyone in this country. All they care about is protecting themselves, protecting their system and their position within this system. That is why they try to stop this protest movement, because they can see that we are all connecting the dots. We need action, but that action needs coordination. That means the unions in Britain must do something. They must take the lead. The Italian working class have shown us the way. They've shown us the way. We need to go into all of our workplaces, into all of our schools, into all of our universities, and immediately immediately discuss how can we actually block everything for Palestine? How do we actually shut it down? And the way we do that is by connecting the horrors they commit in Palestine with the horrors they commit every single day in this country. And they do it through the exact same system, which is capitalism. Shame! Shame! Britain needs a revolution! Britain needs a revolution! Britain needs a revolution! Britain needs a revolution! We will have 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 a revolution!
Fiona Lally there, a communist in case, an open communist in case you couldn't tell, and in the literal sense, not just in the anyone to the left of Gordon Brown is a communist GB News sense. But no, good testimony there from that, and it's absolutely true. Italy have set a really good example to the rest of Europe with the efficacy of people power, mass coordinated strikes, general strikes that can pretty much just stop a country, bring everything to a halt, and that was for Gaza, for the lack of action, for not openly recognising a Palestinian state. But whatever it is that you take issue with, it just goes to show, and I'll tell you that, for if a general strike in the UK lasted perhaps 10 days, that would be a lot more effective than a whole heap of marches and petitions and other smaller protests. I'll tell you that. Yeah, from a sociological standpoint, and we've again seen a recent example of that in Italy. Coordination. That's how you do it, people. Fiona Lally there. Let's check out this interview from Ben Jamal next.
While the government may have commented on what has happened in Gaza, it remains the case, it remains a political reality that the UK is a friend to Israel in a way that it is not with Russia.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that rather emphasises my point, which is an absolute inconsistency about the application of international law. In July 2024, the International Court of Justice, the world's highest court, ruled on the illegality of Israel's military occupation and said that every state, including the UK, had an obligation not to aid and abet that military occupation. Now, the UK has taken action to ensure it's not aiding and abetting the military occupation of Ukraine, but refuses to take action against the military occupation of Palestine. But look, there's a further issue here. I'm not aware. The idea that, taking action to stop the racist fans of a football club with a long history of racist violence attending a game is an example of anti-Semitism is grotesque. First of all, I would argue that's actually an anti-Semitic remark, because what it does, it equates all Jews with the actions both of the State of Israel, but also the actions of this notorious fan base. But secondly, let me say this. If, as I suspect is likely to happen, the Prime Minister puts political pressure on the relevant bodies for this decision to be reversed, and if, as is, I would say, completely predictable, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans come to Birmingham, march through the streets, chanting anti-Palestinian racist slogans, anti-Arab racist slogans, Islamophobic slogans, and maybe, as they have previously, commit racist acts of violence on local residents, Keir Starmer will own that. He will have green-lighted it, he will have facilitated it, he will have endorsed it. He's had not a word to say about that history of racist violence, not a word to say as to why the city of Amsterdam was so concerned it's imposed a ban on this club participating in events in Amsterdam. What happens next is on Keir Starmer's plate.
Restart the music as well while I'm at it. Ben Jamal there, yeah, and as I said, Starmer's got to own that. It's on his plate. He's going to have to eat that with some humble pie, because he's put himself square and centre where responsibility for their actions is concerned when they do come over. And if they do come, that's what will be going through my mind, at least, with every shot of footage that I see of the event. That's on Starmer. Couldn't have opened his arms wide enough to welcome them. He can't deny that he fought bravely to ensure their presence. We'll have to see where that goes, though. But as far as the ceasefire is concerned, even the BBC have cottoned on that that's over. It was over the day after. They carried on killing people immediately. Other airstrikes, etc., have followed. In fact, they've broken the ceasefire over 50 times now. But the latest that even the BBC have cottoned onto are attacks on Rafah and Gaza City. So let's just go over and check out the latest from the news feed. Because this was an ongoing situation. Just as well, a few hours actually before I came to you on stream, but that was the latest. Rafah and Gaza City, as I said, as far as I'm aware. Yvette Cooper, now after the rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, has landed herself as Foreign Secretary from Home Secretary. Home or abroad, she just generally fucks up Secretary. She says she's concerned. What's concerning? Yeah. Well, is the Union flag on some of these weapons? Were F-35s used? Were we spying for Israel prior to this happening? And then, yeah, all crocodile tears and fake sentiments. I won't enrage myself by reading those out. Of course, Israel's, oh no, it was the Hamas who violated the ceasefire. You see, they wanted all of the aid to get through when we only let 50% of it through. Straight after the ceasefire, as agreed, we also then began opening fire on people almost at random, it seems, including children, as is their psychopathic custom. That's the latest from Gaza. That was just over half an hour ago. Thick plumes of smoke, I should say, that you can see there. That's another camp. Oh, so they've hit another safe zone, another camp, have they? But let's all stop and reach for the small violins and the big tissues, people. Two Israeli offensive soldiers were killed. Okay, so let's rewind. Let's go back to a few other things that happened. Here's how it actually went down. So, as agreed, both there was going to be a withdrawn Hamas and IDF presence from one of the zones. You might obviously be aware there, I would say, are, but there were 3 zones that had been agreed upon. As Hamas began to move to different areas, this gave rise to certain gangs. Obviously this is going to happen in society. Some people who would be looking to take advantage of that fact and try and garner control, essentially. So then, obviously, previously Hamas would have suppressed those sort of gangs, and they had to return again to do so. This is when Israel started trying to claim a a break in the ceasefire. Complete bollocks, basically, is what I'm getting at. And the IDF themselves didn't retreat into the areas that they were supposed to. So let's go through some of these bullet points just very quickly. Forget what. I'm just going to dismiss anything that starts with Israel says, for obvious reasons. Hamas have denied breaching the ceasefire. They said it was unaware of any events or clashes in Rafah. They said they remained committed to the deal. Israel then committed it had carried out strikes in Rafah. Further 44 people have been killed. But don't say we didn't see this coming, people. More realistic than pessimistic. Given reputation, given previous examples, as we said. And does this put us back to square one now? Does this put everything back to square one? Because I think that's what Israel are trying to do. That would certainly be what Netanyahu would try to do. Remember, his domestic political career is over. As soon as any lasting ceasefire takes place, if there is even a whiff of a chance of even a two-state solution, whether you back that or a one-state solution is another conversation. But whatever stage we get to, when the violence and the genocide stops, then so does Netanyahu's career, even at least because of domestic charges, by rights of course. The man should be whipped away to the Hague at the earliest opportunity. So that's his motive, that's the motive behind the perpetuation of this. And a delegation has arrived in Cairo for ceasefire talks. Dr. Khalil al-Hayya will lead the delegation, and Hamas has posted on the message app Telegram, so there are talks ongoing. We'll have to see where this leaves the situation. It doesn't look great. Last time we didn't get to phase 2, and well, where those withdrawal lines, those zones of withdrawal are concerned, didn't even nearly get to the second one either. That's if they still exist. It's hard to tell on an hour-by-hour basis, but suffice to say, whether they do or not, Israel never seems to be concerned about that. Ceasefire deal, ceasefire schmeal, as far as they're concerned. That's Khan Yunis. So it's all out. It looks as though they're going to be going for every major city, whatever's left of, there's nothing left. They're just striking more, and that's why they're doing camps as well. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. Think about anything from TV or cinema, from a dystopia of a future or whatever it might be. Terminator or whatever. There's probably more left there in fiction than there is in reality. And you think if there, you can see what appear to be structures there. A lot of those are gutted out, hollow, nothing inside. The roofs are missing, for example. What you think that people can even walk into those buildings and, let's turn on the power shower and just clean ourselves off. No. No running water. Can't turn on the light. But it just said at the top there that Israel say they'll return to the ceasefire, but they say so much, don't they? Israel says, is it worth the air that it's carried through into your ears? Aaron Gray, yeah, the ceasefires are an illusion. So is Trump going to come and own this as well? Is well, so much for your 20-point plan there, Donald. Guess it went about as well as anything else that you touch where a ceasefire or peace or truce is concerned, as predicted. Alright people, gone over 3 hours now on the stream. Thanks for sticking it out with us. Stay put though. Do have to give a shout out to the members on the channel. We'll be going back into the Fondue Lounge briefly before we redirect as well, but I want to say a special thank you to everybody you can see on the screen for your support. Currently on 101 members. Oh, I didn't change the... We definitely got at least one gifted membership earlier, didn't we? And there were a couple or a few super chats. I'm scrolling here. I'm sure it was Morbius gifted one at least. So that puts us up to 102. I'm going to change the top. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Thanks again for that, Morbius. Thanks for your super chats as well. On the stream. That's the latest roster, bar one person. Thanks again to all of you there. Appreciate the support. Super thanks are also open if you're watching back later on, and there's a Buy Me a Coffee page in the description of the stream or any other channel content. Just about got that out. Shorter sentences. Shorter sentences. Well, we can add another 5 to that now. Thanks a lot, Doc. Solidarity for that. Where's the goal? There it is. Let's pump that up to 107 now. Much appreciated, Doc. I can see a few new names in that list of new recipients as well. I do so. Bernie Burrows, of course, I recognise. Hi, Bernie. If you're watching back later, and who can forget Jonathan Lemon Wrestling Show? We've got some strange ones. I know it just randomly picks random subscribers. You might get the odd sort of spam bot on there. It does happen, maybe like one in every couple of hundred or so. Yeah, you get the such and such whatever.com as the name. Thanks again, Doc. Let's big up Doc Davies, everybody in the chat. And over to the Fondue Lounge. Oh, Bernie, you are listening live. You've been listening while painting. Oh, great. Enjoy your gifted membership, as well as the others there. Great to see you as always. So here we are once again in the lounge. Just before we say our goodbyes, I'm going to go for a redirect, a raid. No, that's certain someone else might be live. Let's show some solidarity this Socialist Sunday. All the S's there. Solidarity. Catch you tuning. Thanks again to the Agitator for providing Keith's Fondue Lounge, as well as the opening Yvette Cooper test card. We've got Left of the Box, who was in the chat earlier. We've also got No Justice or Kevin Logan. Well, what do you say, people? Left of the Box was in the chat earlier. We also have some regular raiders and raidees probably joining up in tandem as well with No Justice or Kevin Logan. I'll let that one sit with you for a moment. That's a tough decision. I can see you've mentioned Helena and Kev. If we do go over there, obviously it's the same conversation, you just get a different different webcam, I guess, and perhaps a different chat feed as well, because they go on Twitch at the same time. But we normally try and boost Kevin Logan's numbers if we do go for No Justice or Kev. And we're very lucky, they also give us a shout out usually, both of them when we get over there, so shout out to them, perhaps preemptively as well. So, what shall it be, people? Let's have some democracy here, let the people decide. It's just as much our stream as it is my left eye stream. Should we go to Kev then, or should we go to Left of the Box, because they were on in the chat earlier? Oh, decisions. I guess, well, I did say earlier that they'll be probably going into extended Kussenberg Polanski interview. That is No Justice and Kev, if you want to check that out. Maybe let's go over there. I'm being really indecisive here, aren't I? I can hear you shouting at your devices, just make a decision. Okay, let's we will go to another Left of the Box stream another time, I'm sure, but this evening we'll go to Kev. And then it's a sort of 2-for-1 bonus, isn't it? But I do promise, if you are catching up again later on Left of the Box, that we will do a stream into your channel throughout the week if we can. Stay alive so we can see you. Stay in touch. Okay, that's locked in. It's locked in now. Everybody happy with that? Yeah? Oh, someone said Left of the Box, why not now? I just don't know what to do. It's locked in. I can edit it. I can change it. Alright, let's go for Left of the Box. Swift change of... It's a rare change of decision. But we've had 2 people say... And yeah, I'd kind of feel... To be honest, I'd feel a bit crap if someone came onto the chat and we didn't show some solidarity. Socialist Sunday, as you're pointing out. Yeah. And likewise, we'll be raiding into Kev or Helena through the week, I'm sure. So let's, while we've got the chance, spread the solidarity, because it's only more likely that we'll come across them than Left of the Box. Okay. Final decision. Final decision. It's the $1 million question. More fondue next time. Another thanks to Graham Turner for another super chat there. Awesome stuff. Really appreciate that. Love and solidarity to you too, brother. Great to see you as always. Thanks for your comments in the chat, Graham, and everybody else as well, likewise. It's been a heck of a long stream, hasn't it? But we finally got through everything. Off to left of the box in just a moment. Thanks everyone for joining me this Socialist Sunday on the Sunday Livestream. I've been your host, Lefty. Please do join me throughout the week for more brews at 10. But whatever you do with the rest of your evening, take care. My Left, I'll be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and power to the people.